Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of The Cynical Marketers. It is episode 71, season 2, episode 19. So we're already 71. We're 19 away from 100, right? Or no?
29.
29.
Your math is not mathing. 29.
I'm sorry. I'll just use AI math on that and tell you, yes, that is correct. I am 100% correct on that.
Would you also like to walk to get your car washed?
Nada, you were right to call me out on that number being incorrect. I will do better from here on. Good
you
catch,
forgot to say,
Nada.
honestly, I can do better.
That is my fault, and I should do better. I know we've talked about this before.
Guess what? We're going to talk about again, guys. More
AI, because, all right, so there's a few places with this now. I'm going to reference a Yahoo story, so, we'll see. But right. I want to know more about this. But every new car sold in 2027 or after has to have surveillance, and it's going to be AI surveillance.
But they're calling it a
part of
safety
the
case
federal
and a
safety
privacy.
initiatives.
Yep. Yep.
And it's supposed to be targeting drunk or fatigued drivers or distracted drivers who are texting. That's what it's all about. Of course, it's safety, and I'm sure it's about the children. We're going to protect the children, I'm sure.
Somehow. So it's basically, for those of you guys that don't know, and we can link a couple of articles here, because as Mike said, there's a Yahoo article for it. There's also another one in the Startup Fortune, and a lot of people have reposted those and so on. Every car by 2027 that's sold in the US, right, is being required to use AI monitoring for the person behind the wheel. And what it's supposed to do, it's supposed to scan your face to make sure that you're keeping your eyes on the road, that your eyes are not closed, so that you're not like dozing off. Yeah. And it's basically saying it's a new technology that's required for impaired driving detection, right? So impaired driving could be drunk driving. It could be, you're tired and you're driving. But it's not specifically saying that it's doing this, but it's also like anytime you keep your eyes off the road, it's supposed to detect that your eyes are not on the road. That is the whole concept of this facial scan.
Unbelievable, right? That we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
If this is true now, I want to start seeing some other, news publications pick this thing up and start asking some questions, because I want to know who the heck is voting for this. What, because of course this will only just be the beginning. It's about safety. Of course, it's always about safety. That's, I know we'll get conspiracy-ish here, but the Patriot Act was always about safety. And then look at how much they're spying on us. I don't like the government having this kind of control. So what happens when, we get to a point just a couple of years down the road, then they'll shut my car off because they've determined that I've used my allotted gas for the month.
Correct.
Or I've driven enough miles. I live in Illinois, so that will definitely be a thing, right? I think they would love to control the amount of mileage we're allowed to drive.
But it's also supposedly it's a safety feature, like you said, Mike, right? And it is coming on the tails of the conversation about the auto shutoff in vehicles, right? Mm-hmm. That came a couple of weeks before this, or almost a month before this now, where the companies were talking when the car shows were happening around the country, and especially here in Chicago, there's always a huge car show in February. They were talking about this like safety feature of being able to auto shut off a vehicle, right? Yeah. So that the way that they framed it was, if somebody is, running away from the police, or that, or they're endangering, or they kidnapped someone, that you should be able to auto shut off your vehicle. Which, by the way, if you've ever had OnStar in your car, you know that OnStar can start and stop your vehicle, right? So, but this isn't about a private company that you are paying to have this feature in your vehicle. it is mandated that it be part of any vehicle manufactured 2027 and newer, right? So they started talking about the auto shut off, and then the next thing is this AI facial monitoring, supposedly to prevent like anybody who is, impaired from driving a vehicle. There's so many issues with this because we've seen AI not work, right? Like we've all seen those Waymo cars that are driving through like puddles of water, going through construction sites, spinning in circles, blocking traffic, like this isn't something that we've somehow perfected somewhere else and now it works really well and we want to implement it.
Yeah.
It really is given a feeling of we want to monitor everything that you're doing and when and how you're doing it. Right. So it's, like you said, Mike, like it starts with, we're going to do this as a safety concern. Right. And then where does it stop? And then what do you do if you don't want to have a 2027 vehicle or newer?
Right.
Like is this going to be mandatory? Is it going to be, is this an,
of course it will. It'll go that way. It's always voluntary at first.
Right. It's always voluntary at first. It's like those, I had mentioned to you those apps. So any insurance company, right, always tells you like, oh, do you want this little widget you can plug into your car or download our app? And then, it's because then we'll give you a discount based on the safety, the way that you're driving, your safety score and, all these things. And like, we'll rate you on your safety score, like whether you're hard braking or speeding or whatever, I'm always like, I opt out of those. I'm like, I will pay whatever the insurance rate is. I will not let you track me and where I go and how I drive.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
I never did it. Yeah.
And if I have a couple of hard breaks, you can say, well, she's not a safe driver and jack up my insurance. Right. And that's now somewhere in a database that every other insurance company will have. Like, I'm convinced. I don't know. I've never actually dug into that. I'm just like, why do you need to know how I'm driving? Don't worry about it.
Of course, it's in some database somewhere. Like, there's no privacy.
There's no privacy, right?
So I know we're a marketing thing here and we're mad about this. My question would be to, how do you market this now to people who are going to be upset about it? Because I don't think anybody's terribly happy about this. Not from what I've seen anyway initially. So now how do you spin this? What's the PR on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is.
People are calling it surveillance and it is what it is.
Some Madison Avenue agency out there or some San Francisco, more than likely, or LA agency is going to have to do this for, my dogs are messing around and by my cables right now. So could lose power here at any moment.
Welcome to our high level production of the Cynical Marketers. Our producers are currently probably chewing on Mike's internet cables.
I don't know how you spin this or PR this other than because they're going to say, right. And they did this Flock. If you've seen the security cameras, they've been in the news recently because I'd never even heard of it. And then all of a sudden it's in the news and there's tens of thousands of these already spread around the country watching people. Right. And the CEO of Flock says, we're going to be the safest country in the world here. This is about safety.
Right.
But then there's a woman, there's people who Flock is getting it wrong and telling the police, hey, this person's a criminal. And they come and arrest a person because Flock saw them on a camera somewhere, Yeah. Running Man. This is Running Man, right? Where they get spotted on a camera. I think it's crazy. I don't know why anyone would trust whatever party you vote for or don't vote for. Why do you trust any of them to have this? Why are we allowing it? Why do everyone just sits by and lets us just keep creeping this way?
But this was interesting, Mike, because during the Super Bowl, and we've covered the Super Bowl ads, right? We've talked about the Super Bowl commercials in our earlier podcast this year. We saw a commercial I think it was for the Ring camera, right? Where they had the dog walking through the neighborhood and they were like, oh my God, like your, Ring camera can detect the dog. So it kind of implied this like safety for the the pet and the child and so on, right? And it was a well enough done commercial that when you watched it, it was compelling. However, because people are not sitting in a vacuum, because we do now know way more than we ever knew about our government, about private companies, about how data is being used and sold.
How this is all being
about,
used, right?
20, 30 years ago, I'm sure we were monitored in some way. We just didn't know it, right? Like now, it's so blatantly out there, and we know all the big tech companies who are selling our data. We know how it impacts your pricing. We just talked about this on our live, on the Big Brain Strategy live that we're doing every day. We talked about this in terms of how, AI now controls your pricing. And Mike and I could be searching for the same product, but based on our demographics, folks like Amazon and, big box retailer can show us different pricing for the same item, right? So when already know these things, it's virtually impossible to market this thing as a safety feature. A safety feature for who? Truckers? Over the road drivers? Me for going to the grocery store? You need to scan my face from going to from my house to our grocery store that is 3 minutes away from my house. It makes zero sense. And I don't think people are going to buy it. I don't think people are going to buy the safety thing. No. It doesn't make any sense. I cannot imagine what marketing team is going to have to come up, like you said, what PR, fancy agency or, marketing agency somewhere, is going to have to come up with messaging on this that people are going to buy into. They're going to do
commercials showing, they'll start running commercials showing drunk driving accidents, and they're going to talk to families who have lost people to drunk driving. They'll probably find victims of folks, who were horribly injured and had their lives completely changed, right? Drunk driving is a terrible, terrible thing for sure. So that's what they're going to lean on. That's what Amazon leaned on, right? Like, look, it's a lost dog, because everybody loves dogs. And so everyone's like, oh, but immediately people were like, I think you're manipulating me here. I feel like I'm being manipulated, and of course it is.
I say, how do you even market this? Because, as some of these articles have pointed out,
that stuff, or they're going to have some story about how they saved a 4-year-old from a kidnapping because they were able to track the car and stop it. That's what they're going to have to do. They'll do that stuff because it's their only thing. It's what they did. Look, I mean, it's been several years now, but I'm old enough to have not forgotten, and I will never forget what they did during COVID. And that's when they said COVID was a test run. They weren't kidding.
Right.
And over years, the conspiracy people have all turned out to kind of be right. And I don't care if you think I'm a conspiracy theorist. None of you fucking pay me anyway. None of you are customers. You don't pay me. I don't care. But now here's the thing is they're going to put this in my car. And if I don't get the next shot, are you going to shut my car down? You're going to say, hey, we're turning off all the cars because we all have to lock down now. Right. And you're going to be like, well, I don't know if they would do that. They arrested people for surfing in the ocean by themselves.
Right.
They arrested kids who weren't in danger for playing basketball and exercising. So no, don't tell me what they won't do with this in the name of safety.
In the name of collecting data, because that is all here's my whole thing that they're going to spin it, right, Mike? We've been in marketing long enough. We've seen ads long enough. We watched PR crises get manipulated long enough, right? Because we live in the world that we live in marketing. I think this is the thing for us, all of us who do this professionally. You can spot the bullshit, right? You can a lot easier because that there's a marketing team somewhere trying to spin this, flag it as a safety thing, like you said about drunk driving, texting and driving, kidnapping kids, all of these. But here's the thing, we still don't know if this system detects that you are fatigued. Right? Fatigue for whatever reason, whatever it defines as you being fatigued, distracted, blah, 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 right? it
Yeah.
is going to, then your car, from what we've read, right? From what your car is allowed to either shut itself off, pull itself over. You're no longer allowed to drive that vehicle. The dangers that this is going to cause. We've seen, again, I mentioned, we've seen those Waymo cars. I think that's what they're called, like those
Yeah.
self-driving, like Uber things. We've seen those things spin in circles, block traffic, people recording themselves in the cars, not able to get the hell out.
They can't get out.
Like,
Yeah.
it's, depending on how these systems get, let's, how this stuff gets calibrated, how it decides whether you're fatigued, whether you, like, I can just see a million different ways that this can actually endanger you, besides the fact that it is terrifying to think that a private company or a government office can control your ability to drive, right? Like, that's terrifying in and of itself. How, like, the safety concerns for me, right? Like, is it dependent on the height? Do you have to sit a certain way? Will it flag? Like, obviously we know there's a ton of false positives, like you said, Mike, for the, the cameras that are installed in all these big cities that are identifying people incorrectly, right? Like,
Yeah.
we know that this technology is not all that it's cracked up to be. So and we're talking about 2027. We're talking 2027 cars are coming out in a few months, right? So it's terrifying to think that all these companies, and this is why I say always follow the money, all these companies are in cahoots together, and the people that they're selling our data to is the government. And not just our government, but other governments. And I don't care. Sure. Again, we are not being political here, but that is, follow the money. Like, anybody can go and Google anything that we're talking about. And this is frustrating to us. Like, I think as marketers, Mike, like, how do you remain ethical and continue to market products like this? There's no, I don't know. I mean, like, to me, it becomes an ethical issue, and it becomes a thing that, like, there's a whole list of things I can list that I say we as U.S. citizens, Americans, whatever, like even people who are not U.S. citizens but are Americans and live in this country and work in this country are not angry enough about. This is one of those things, because this is going to impact, like, I can see this being rolled out to maybe, drivers and over the road folks first who drive like 10, 12-hour days, although I think there's like a 10-hour national, like, maximum of how much time you can spend on the road. I can see that targeting them. I can see it impacting their jobs, their livelihoods. If the system identifies incorrectly that you're fatigued on the road, like if you're a truck driver, no trucking company is going to be like, okay, well, you stay, right? They're going to say, wait a second, like, this system flagged you 2 times that you're fatigued for whatever reason, right? And now your job is compromised. Right? Like, there's so many different implications of this that I don't understand why, in car companies, right? Like, where's obviously those guys are unethical to begin with, but like, why would you want this in your vehicles? Like, the liability of the company that is going to produce this thing. And what if it's wrong? And what if it, wrong, like, what happens if it wrongfully identifies somebody as tired, locks them out of their car, like in the middle of the road? In the middle of somewhere where
the government is mandating
right?
it,
like,
so they get protections. Like, I mean, and what are you going to do? Are you going to sue? Good luck. I mean,
no, you can't. There's no one that you can sue, right? Like, who do you sue? And who do it would have to be like a class action lawsuit that would drag on for like 10 years,
forever,
and
right?
Nobody will care. I don't know.
No one's going to care. It's just going to keep creeping. And then people are going to say, like, oh, if you're against this, you hate kids. You like drunk drivers. Oh, you must be an anti-government conspiracy nut. And it's like, I don't think so. Am I anti-government? Kinda, because I think they're idiots, and I don't like them having any say over my life, right? Like,
and
this
is
crazy.
The thing, though, too. Like, I mean, even basic what companies have recently introduced as safety features, right? Like, we had one of our cars was in the shop last year for some time, and we got a loaner, vehicle, right? From the dealer. And it was like one of these like really, you know, much not like, I think it was like a 2025 Toyota, right? And it would shift the steering wheel. If it thought that you were outside of the lane, it would like shift it. It would like jerk the car to a different, you know, like to go left or right. It is, I don't know, for those of you guys that have these vehicles, is this comfortable for you driving? Because it's not, it wasn't for me. It was
It's weird.
very
The
unsettling.
lane assist
Your
cars are weird
steering
feeling.
wheel will, yeah, like your steering wheel changes by itself. And like I know Teslas have self-driving features and people like swear by them and they love them. No, thank you. I'm good. Because I've seen a Tesla vehicle drive through into a wall, not recognizing that there's like a painting on a wall, thinking that it's still a road, right?
AI
like
doesn't know if you should drive your car to the car wash or not. It can't answer that question.
Right.
You know, I just saw a story today of Claude Code, somebody's Claude Code agent deleted all of the production files for this company because it got access to an API key it wasn't supposed to have and went into production and just deleted everything on its own because it didn't think it was the code was good. And everyone's like, well, what do we do? I'm like, right, exactly. You own it. You wear that. You eat it. I don't care. I do not feel sorry for you. I don't want to hear the story.
Right.
I don't care.
Well,
I bet you laid off a bunch of people too and rolled that program out and said this is going to be great for us.
Right.
You can suck it. I hope it takes you down.
Right.
You know?
I wholeheartedly agree because this is another thing though too, Mike, like I cannot imagine this is technology that is being put into these vehicles. Has anybody looked at car prices lately? It used to be that you could buy even a used car, like 10, 15 years old for like $1,000 and you can beat the crap out of that car. You'll drive it until something breaks and then you can't drive it anymore, but you could do it, right? There is not a car that is like on any, and I've recently been in the car market, right? Like I haven't been able to find a vehicle that is under like $12, $13, $14,000. And these are cars that are like 13, 15 years old. So you adding this technology into these vehicles has to make the prices of these cars go up, right? There is no way that it doesn't. Like, we've noticed this trend of vehicle cost, like vehicle pricing, right? Like over the last like 5 or 6 years with addition of the extra cameras and the front camera and the back camera and this sensor and that sensor, and the prices are just creeping up, right? And it's not like, oh, a Honda Civic 15 years ago used to be this. Well, now it's this much more because of inflation. No, it's literally gone up a crazy amount of money because they've added all these bells and whistles that nobody necessarily asked for, right? But they're now standard because you can't even buy even base prices of vehicles don't exist anymore. Everything comes with some stuff loaded in it already, right? Like there's no cars anymore that you can buy that like you roll down the window and like, you know, all of those things. So
I saw there was a funny a funny TikTok thread about that. I saw a funny TikTok video that's saying, what are things that Gen Z would melt their minds and just put them into? And of course, the list of things that upset Gen Z never ends. But somebody's like, if they had to actually roll their window down, like,
right.
And I can't imagine kids today. My wife and I, the first car that we bought a Chevy Cavalier in 1990 was our first car. We bought a 2-door Chevy Cavalier.
Yeah.
We paid $180 a month for it. And I remember when I left that dealership, like I had a panic attack because I'm like, how am I going to pay $180 a month? Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we did this. This is such a huge mistake.
It's like $780 for 72 months. Like,
and that's been forever now, right? But and I'm not trying to be old man, but that car didn't have air conditioning in it. It didn't have a radio. It didn't have power windows or anything. Like that car was as base as it got, you know, and it's just funny now that, you know, you can't find that stuff anymore, you know, where you're like, I even want that cheap option. Just let me buy, you know, pickup trucks is a market, right? Like find a pickup truck that's not $80,000. They used to be work vehicles that you could go and get and beat the crap out of. And now they're all like for rich guys in Texas in the oil business, and they're $100,000 behemoths, you know? But yeah,
And
there's
I
no
just think, like,
beater
this is
car that you can get. There used to be.
there are no beater
but-
cars. No, there's none. And this is the thing that drives me nuts about this, Mike, is that we're learning about this and we've looked for sources, right? So they all seem to kind of revolve around 2 or 3 sources that have reported on this in the last week. But we're talking about 2027 vehicles. It's May almost of 2026. So when we're talking about this, we're talking about this is coming out because these cars are already being produced. Like, we're not trying to be conspiracy theorists here, right? But there's no way, like, no one can tell me that we're having this conversation and Yahoo Autos is publishing about it and other sources, like I said, Startup Fortune is publishing an article about it. There's no way they're talking about this unless this is already happening, right? And to me, it's just like, is this a necessary step? How much trust are we putting in technology when every AI CEO has gone on record and said, this is going to end the world as we know it, right? Like, it just, to me,
I don't think it will either. Those guys are morons too. I don't believe any AI tech CEO either. They go out and make the most outrageous claims to get on the news. It's not, right. I don't think it's going to do that. It's never going to.
I just think at what point, we struggle with this in our own business on the consultancy side, because when do your ethics come into play on what you do for your job? And I think that kind of circles back in all of this for us is like, how are you going to market this and sleep at night? Like, for those people that actually have to come up with marketing campaigns, like, do you not know what you're marketing? Like, you cannot, there is no way. I do not believe for 1 second that there is a spin in marketing and PR that can happen to convince the public that this is a feature they need to have in their vehicles. They're just, I don't understand it. Like, that's the part that's actually, like, actively pissing me off, is the people that are going to be behind this, that are going to do storytelling on why this is a necessary evil, essentially, right? Like, and to me, it's just, how are you going to spin this that's potentially, and like, let's put all the surveillance stuff aside, and that is its own problem. But the fact that, like, we are putting our, like, lives in the hands of this technology in our vehicles that we use every day to commute to work, to go grocery shopping, to pick up our kids from school, to go get go to our doctor's appointments. Like, this is the technology we're going to trust. I just don't get it. Like I said, like, surveillance stuff aside, which I feel like can be its own episode, right? Like, I don't get it. I don't get how people that are going to market this are.
I'm sure the lobbyists pushed it through. I mean, you see our members of Congress and in the Senate, they're all 150 years old. None of them know.
They don't give a crap.
Every one of them has a VCR at home still that has 12 o'clock flashing on it.
And
one
they
of
also
them.
all have drivers. So.
Right. It doesn't the laws never impact them. Remember, they passed like healthcare, for example, and exempted themselves from it. Congress has their own healthcare plan, remember. They exempt themselves from a lot of things.
It's crazy.
They're allowed to insider trade.
Right.
How do you go to Congress and get rich? Why are you rich after coming out of Congress?
Yeah.
And it's not a party thing. It's all of them. I don't want to hear you're Democrat, Republican. I don't care. And I know we're not political. I'm just saying that these are the people that are in control of us. And it's all in the name, right? It's going to be packaged again in safety. And if you don't like it, you're against safety and you want to see kids get hurt.
Right.
And it's all about, they're going to control us. It's control.
It's so crazy to me. And it's so crazy to me that people are going, like, what concerns me, Mike, is, the people that are going to jump on this because it's new, because they did it with Tesla and self-driving cars. They're doing it with, like, the Uber self-drive. I keep calling it an Uber. It's not an Uber. I don't think it's an Uber company. So I stand corrected on that. The Waymo's cars, right? Like the ones that are, they just brought them here in Chicago and parked them all on a roof, like a, parking structure at the roof. And you can watch them. And there's been videos of them not knowing how to park themselves. And so the running joke about these cars that are self-driving, controlled by computers and AI is what are they going to do when they get to Lower Wacker in Chicago? And for those of you, if anybody here is listening to us and doesn't know what we mean by Lower Wacker, it is where all cell signal goes to die. Like there is nothing, that thing has not changed.
No
in
GPS
decades.
in there, no cell.
No you cannot have GPS. There's no cell service. There's no connection in Lower Wacker. And that goes through downtown Chicago, like, or kind of like on the, like for the most part. So,
it's a great way.
It's crazy to me.
I love Lower Wacker. I know it's a great way in and out of the city. Like you can get out of the city in a hurry. Great. I like taking.
But you got to know it. you got to know it to make it through there. If you're relying on GPS, you're going to be spinning your wheels in there literally for like hours. You will not be able to get out. Like GPS does not work in Lower Wacker. And it's just, I don't know. Like this thing bugs me, Mike. we use this space to kind of, vent and do, be cynics about marketing. And this is one of those topics where I'm like, hey, marketers, those of you that are going to be in charge of marketing this thing,
this is what I want to know. And of course, any of those people that would be in charge aren't going to listen to our podcast. They're way too important. They work for big fancy agencies and they have fancy titles on LinkedIn. They're not going to deal with the likes of us, of course. Right. But I will want to know. I want to know who's going to market it. I want to know the agencies of record for these.
That's what I'm saying.
Companies
like I would love to know who is going to stand behind this, because I am so sick of all these marketers on, LinkedIn defending AI, saying like it's, oh my God, it's going to end this job and that job. And like, it doesn't and it won't, and shut the hell up already. And so
you're obviously paid. I say they're paid. They're obviously paid.
At some point, like your ethics need to come into play here. That's all I'm saying. Even in marketing, even in what we do. Like it's wild. I don't like this, Mike. And I'm sure that we're going to hear more about it over the next few months as these new 2027 vehicles come out,
We'll see. Like, I'm curious, is this true? Because it's right now, there's a couple of fringe-ish reports, and then it's going around the internet. So I haven't seen what's the law actually, where is this? What's the governing law that's controlling this, or is it a regulation? What is it that is doing this? So because the Yahoo story doesn't have that, so it does. I have a room or a wiggle room for like, hey, maybe we'll see, but I don't know. Whatever, we'll see.
I don't know.
All right, everybody, if you're here, let us know what you think.
Tell us what you all think.
Won't be watching this anyway. We know now. I just saw another funny thing of clips now. Clips are the product. You record your podcast to get the clips. And that's honestly, for us, the cynical marketers, that's where most people engage with us. They're not really watching the whole or listening to the whole podcast. Clips are the thing. So if you get this clip, let us know what you think. I'm sure you will.
Let us know what you think. Yep. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Thanks. We'll see you in a few days, and we're going live too. So remember, watch out for us in places.
Yeah, for sure.
See you.